What up guys, it's Dave from OhTalkWho, and as of a couple of months ago, I've been studying Japanese for a year and a half. So what's up guys, long time no see. I have been studying just like always. Nothing's really changed for me too much, but I did want to talk about some of the things that I have grown with and maybe talk a little bit about my progress over the last year and a half, a little bit more now. So if you guys have been following my journey so far, you know that I started studying Japanese in May of 2018. So, a little over a year and a half ago. And during that journey, I basically did a couple of different things. I studied, RTK in the beginning. I did it the traditional way. It's not something I recommend. Nowadays, most people do the RRTK method, the lazy kanji or whatever you want to call it. And that's a great method. I actually really like that, and I've been doing some of that, but I'll talk about that afterwards. After I did RTK, I did the Tango N5 Anki deck and book all together, and I made it through that in a couple of months in about the appropriate amount of time. After that, I did the N4 and N3 books, and I felt like those were both really helpful for me. I really liked having pre-built decks, especially because I'm a really busy adult. But whether or not you want to do that N3 book or N4 book even, it's really up to you. I think it's definitely possible, especially with all of the tools that exist today, to not do the N3 book and probably not the N4 book, though I thought the N4 book helped, especially with tools like Morphman, which we might get into a little bit later. But yeah, after I started, or after I finished rather, the N3 book, then I moved on to somewhat traditional sentence mining, and that was around looks like April of 2019. So yeah, it's January 2020 now, and I've been sentence mining ever since then. I guess something I didn't really talk about in my last video too much was monolingual stuff, as to whether or not I had made the monolingual transition or not. And I'm one of those people who did the monolingual transition really slowly. I think that the monolingual transition is helpful for a lot of stuff, and I think it's a great thing to do if that's one of your goals. But for me, it wasn't something that I wanted to brute force really fast. I just didn't have that, I don't know, it just wasn't as big or as important to me. But have I made the monolingual transition? I guess the answer is yes, but with a caveat. A lot of the times I will still use English definitions. I use the MIA dictionary add-on. It's a great add-on. If you guys haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. I'll throw a link in the description below. It's open to everyone now and it's free, and it is extremely helpful. So using that add-on, I usually use monolingual sentences. It depends on what I'm looking up though. A lot of the times, like nouns especially, it's easier to use an English definition, because if you were trying to define the word cat in Japanese, that might be ridiculous, and it might just be easier to use an English definition. Those one-for-one words like that are just so much more convenient to do in English. But when you're talking about feelings, or if you're talking about verbs, right? Those kind of things I feel like are better to use monolingual definitions for. But it's really just a matter of what you want to do. Do I think the monolingual transition is absolutely necessary? No, probably not. But do I think it's helpful? Yeah, absolutely, I think it's helpful. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about where I'm at now. So I don't really have an exact count of words that I know at this point, or an exact count of cards that I have. I guess I could look that up, but what I've been going off of nowadays is the Morphman known count, and my Morphman known count is right around 6,600 words. That's 6,613. So if you do the math and you average out how many known words I have since the start of my Japanese journey, I'm up to what it averages out to be about 10.6 words a day since that. And that includes the time that I was doing RTK. I think that time should count towards my journey, but I don't think that how long you've been studying Japanese really is a good measure of whether or not you're good. You'll meet people who've been like, oh, I've been studying for 5 years, and they're, if they've been doing it kind of laissez-faire, they might not be great. But I think what's a better measure is maybe that known count, or also just your capability. Not that it really matters, I guess at this point. My opinions about a lot of this stuff have really leveled out. I wouldn't say they've changed, but I'm just kind of at a point where it's I do this because I enjoy it, and because I want to be able to enjoy another culture and another language, and because in the near future, somewhat near future, I'll be living in Japan most likely. So yeah. As for the rest of my Tango stuff, my vocabulary and stuff, yeah, it's been growing every single day. I'm at a point now where I add about 10 new words a day. Some days I'll miss my 10 new words, most days I don't. When I was doing Tango, I did about 15 new words a day, and I was doing both reading and audio cards, as you can see in some of my older videos. And so for that time, I was doing 30 new cards a day, but it was only 15 new words. Yeah. As far as kanji goes, there was a period where after I did RTK, I flipped it over to lazy kanji as opposed to traditional RTK where I was writing it out every single day. And doing traditional kanji, looking back, man, I really did not enjoy that time period. I was really, really excited to learn kanji, but whether or not I thought I was, looking back, whether or not I think it's all that helpful to do it right away, my opinion has changed a little bit, and doing traditional RTK definitely isn't the way to go. So I did start using, however many months back, Matt's RRTK deck. It's made of the 1,000 most common kanji. I don't know exactly where he got the frequency list for it being the 1,000 most common kanji. I think that the list is good. It could be better. There are definitely some kanji in there that, at least for my immersion, and this is just for me, right? But at least for my immersion, some of those kanji still don't even come up all that often, whereas other kanji come up all the time. And that might just be the types of books I'm reading and the shows that I'm watching when I watch them with subtitles, which at this point, I don't really watch shows with subtitles all that much anymore, with a couple of exceptions, and we'll talk about that. So yeah, I'm still studying kanji, and you know, I just do the reps every single day. And it's the same with the Tango deck. Like, I actually haven't really suspended all that many cards from my Tango deck, even the ones that I don't need anymore. And it's just because, you know, at this point I maybe get 20 reps a day on my Tango decks, and so it really isn't that hard just to flip through them real quick and do those cards, and just make sure that some of the less common words that I learned in Tango still are popping up for me, because there are some that I feel like, even though they were in the N4 or N3 books, they don't necessarily show up in my immersion all the time, and those are going to be like your more like business style words. I don't really watch too many business shows or read too many business books, so there's that. As far as reading, I did mention that I started reading books, and that's true. I've read several books now, maybe, I don't know, probably under a dozen, but I've definitely made a lot of progress in there, and actually I think that's probably where my ability has grown the most over the last 6 months since my last video. I did read Harry Potter Kenji no Ishi, the first Harry Potter book in Japanese, and I thought that really helped me out a lot, and I read some other books, and being able to do that was really, really exciting for me. So one of my original goals back when I first started learning Japanese, because I thought that if I could read Harry Potter in Japanese, then I was fluent, right? Like, that was it. And, or at least like basic level fluency. Now that I've done it, I don't agree with that statement anymore, but I definitely think it is a good measure of one's ability to be able to read a novel. And I don't know if Harry Potter is the best novel. I thought it was a good novel for me because I knew the story well. I've heard some people complain that the translation is absolute garbage, and then I've heard other people argue that, like, well, it's just not great. It's still good. And after reading it and knowing as much Japanese as I do, I think I would agree with the latter. I would say that it's a good translation, but that it's got a couple of weird spots from what I could figure out. But I wouldn't say that it was just an absolute garbage translation of a book by any means. It's definitely for Japanese people. You know, it's not for the Japanese learner. Other than that, I did start we started a reading club this year on Nuke Marine's Discord, and the goal is to read at least one book every single month. Now, for the month of January, we're doing manga to start off, because we want to try to like taper our way up from easier to harder books. So this month we set a goal to read, I think it was like 4 or 5 volumes of Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, the manga, and right now it's, you know, not even the end of January, and I've made it through 4 volumes, most of the way through the 5th one already too. And yeah, that's actually been a really fun thing, is just being able to kind of like read through a manga, especially because that's a show that I'd done a deep dive on already. So, and if you want to know a little bit more about deep dives, I did make a video on that, so check it out if you're interested in what that concept is. But basically, going through that manga has actually been really, really helpful, and it's been a lot of fun because I really like the story, and it's great to get to a point now where I'm like just enjoying myself in Japanese, and I don't need a dictionary to look up most words. You know, maybe, I don't know, a couple of words a chapter, but other than that, I'm just kind of sailing through. And then after that, we're just gonna switch over, I believe, from manga to reading actual novels and try to read like a simpler novel. Like we might start off with like Comprehension or something like that, and then work our way up. And the reason, or the way rather, we're finding out whether these novels are easier or harder is just by doing like some word analysis on them with the newest build of Morphman. So otherwise, watching and reading things, or watching rather and listening to things, that really hasn't changed too much for me. I still have like a 3 shows a day rule. I try to get, you figure between Anki, reading and listening, I do maybe 3 hours of immersion a day, maybe a little bit more some days, definitely more some days, and maybe less some days depending. But because of my job, I work 12-hour days, so getting more than that 3 hours between Anki and reading and listening can be hard. However, on my days off, I definitely can get in a little bit more than that. So yeah, I usually watch 3 shows a day, at a minimum, if not more, and I just watch whatever I either watch something that I'm deep diving at that time, or just whatever I like at this point, you know? It's gotten a lot easier to watch shows. I usually don't watch them with Japanese subtitles, and though I do watch shows with English subtitles, for those of you who have seen some of my older videos, you know that I've trained myself not to read them. And the only reason that I do watch them with English subtitles is because I like to watch shows with my wife and spend time with her, so she needs the subtitles, but at this point, a lot of the times I don't. And I very, very rarely look down at them at all. Yeah, almost never at this point. So as far as comprehension goes with those kind of things, slice of life, like your basic slice of life shows, have become pretty much understandable for me. You know, I wouldn't say that I'm fluent by any means at this point, but I'm definitely making a lot of progress. Your everyday conversation stuff, your Nishijo kaiwa, all that stuff has become very easy for me. I don't have to pay attention too much to be able to pick things up. Now, obviously, when you get into like more scientific stuff, yeah, that gets a lot harder. There's gonna be things that I don't know. But as far as like your basic slice of life stuff, at this point, I think I kind of got it. You know, it's hard to say a number for comprehension levels, but it's definitely high up there for me, especially after doing deep dives, and especially after switching my target goal for deep dives up to 98% of a show's vocabulary. That has really kind of skyrocketed my listening abilities, and it's been great. As far as writing goes, I still don't write by hand almost ever. You know, I don't see why that's essential. It might become something that becomes essential when I move to Japan one day in the near future with my job, but as of right now, it's just not something that I care too much about. However, typing has become extremely fast for me, whether that's on my phone and I'm using like the little swipe keyboard, or if I'm typing on a laptop, that's become really quick for me, although on a laptop I'm still using an English keyboard typing in Japanese with like the Google IME, whatever it's called. And I had done some journaling a couple months ago. I was at like a really stressful point in work, and I started journaling every night to kind of like, you know, put it all together. And I was journaling in Japanese, and I thought that was really, really helpful. And I actually feel that writing a little bit and journaling a little bit, while you might make mistakes and stuff like that, and you need to be careful about that, and you should be looking up grammar and things like that as you're going, studying that or doing that did help my understanding of grammar grow just like a little bit. And I tried to only write things that I was pretty sure was right. I tried not to make things up too much, but things have gotten easier a little bit with that. As far as speaking and outputting, I actually have started outputting a little bit. And the reason is one, because I've reached that level where like your everyday Japanese stuff has become pretty easy for me to understand. And I've just kind of reached a point where I feel like I want to output, you know. I don't know if I'm 100% ready, and I don't do it a lot, but I have started to kind of do that a little bit more. So yeah, I've gone to like one kaiwa club meeting in my local city. Thankfully, I live pretty close to Denver, and so There's a really big kaiwa club there with lots of native Japanese speakers. So that was really fun and a good experience. It was really cool to go there and actually get to communicate with some foreign speakers, and then also with a couple of learners who were all at a high level. You know, there was definitely people there who'd been studying 5-10 years, and that was really cool to kind of do that. And I felt like I was definitely able to understand a lot of the conversation. Saying what I wanted to say was still a little hard, though it was easier than I expected. You know, I couldn't say everything, and my grammar probably wasn't perfect by any means, but I was able to say a lot without having to think about what I was saying. It just kind of came out. That was a really cool experience. It was a lot of fun. I also did 2 italki lessons a couple of months ago, and when I did those lessons, I was really excited to do that, and it was really fun to get a little bit of output, but I wasn't ready to output at that point. It was still really difficult for me, and I did have to switch to English at some point within the lessons, and I found that to be really frustrating, whereas with the kaiwa club, I don't think I ever needed to switch to English. I think we did a couple of times, but mostly it just did in Japanese, and I don't feel like I ever needed to say something in English unless I felt that the person who I was talking to, if they were like a Japanese learner, if I said a couple of words that were like a little bit harder vocabulary that you wouldn't expect your normal Japanese learner to know, then I would like say those in English, but otherwise mostly just stuck to Japanese. And then, yeah, what's in my future? So from here on out, I'm just gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. I enjoy sentence mining still. I'm gonna keep doing, 10 new words a day. I'll probably, reassess that once I get up to about 10,000 known morphs. But it's growing steadily. I probably increased my known morph count by close to 100 words a week, somewhere around there, I would guess. It should only be 70, but like when you include like katakana words and things that you can just kind of skip over, or some days I do more than 10 words and it can almost equal out to be 100, maybe not quite. But yeah, just keep doing that. I definitely want to keep reading. I've noticed that reading, and a lot of people have been talking about this recently too, so it's been really motivating, but reading and getting a lot of text input seems to be a way to really grow your listening ability and actually grow your speaking ability too. Just the more and more exposure that you get, the better and better you can get at producing. And that just makes sense, right? Like it's the same stuff that Matt versus Japan has been talking about. It's the same stuff that Stephen Cratchit was talking about, and what's his name, Steve Kaufman, right? They're basically all starting to get to this somewhere around the same point, and it's reading input seems to be one of the most helpful ways to grow your capabilities the fastest. Now, there's a caveat to that, and as many of you guys have probably watched Matt versus Japan's videos, if you do a lot of reading, like too much reading, then yeah, it could possibly hurt your accent. It could make you sound like you're from a book as opposed to a real person. But I mean, I guess I don't see that as being the worst thing ever. I feel like once you get to a point where you're reaching basic fluency, a lot of that stuff, while you might say weird things here and there, a lot of that stuff will be phased out over time. And I guess for me, my goal specifically, and whatever your guys' goals are is great, but for me specifically, I don't really care to be, I don't think I ever really want to reach like a native level fluency, at least when it comes to accent. I think people out there who are studying pitch accent are great, but for me, I think having an accent necessarily isn't a bad thing. That isn't to say that I don't want to sound as best as I can. I'm not gonna walk around saying things the most gaijin way possible by any means. I'm gonna try to have a good accent, but I'm gonna say that it's not my #1 focus by any means. I got this face, and I don't know if I will ever go try to permanently live in Japan or anything like that. I just want to be able to exist there and enjoy the culture and have Japanese friends and be able to enjoy Japanese media at a very high level. And while accent can help with those things, it's not what makes it. What makes it is, I feel at this point, your understanding of grammar and vocabulary and your understanding of culture and your ability to immerse in that culture. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. So speaking of grammar, I have been studying more grammar on the side, and that kind of got, that was kind of like influenced by yoga MIA. he made a video a while back saying that when he first started learning Japanese, that he studied all of the dictionary Japanese grammar guides. And I have been kind of doing the same, although at a very slow rate. I kind of do maybe 1 or 2 cards a day. I definitely rep the cards every single day in Anki, and keep it going with that. But yeah, I'm not trying to like force all that grammar in my head as fast as possible. My grammar capabilities and understanding of grammar have gone way up just because of immersion, right? But I do feel like it helps to go through the dictionary of Japanese grammar or whatever grammar guide you like, just like Tae Kim, although Tae Kim doesn't seem to go as high of a level as the dictionary of Japanese grammar. It's nice to just see those grammar sentences and not have to worry about knowing all of the words in the sentence. I'm just studying a sentence for each grammar point, or a couple sentences for each grammar point, and I'm trying to go out and find sentences with those grammar points with native audio. Yeah, just I don't think it's bad to study grammar, but I think that the way you really learn grammar is definitely not in Anki. I think it's definitely in your immersion. I would say that for all of Japanese, right? That was one of the things that I think I talked about in another video. I don't think Anki is where you learn Japanese, and I think Matt's made that pretty clear. Where you learn Japanese is using real native sources and just reading and listening and watching things and immersing yourself in as much of the culture you can. That's where you learn Japanese. Anki is just there to introduce you to a new word or a new set phrase or a new piece of grammar, new kanji, and then you need to go out there and you need to read it, or you need to see it, you need to experience it, right? And that's when it really kind of solidifies. Yeah, cool. All right, guys, that's probably gonna be it for the day. I hope you really enjoyed the video. If you got to this point, thank you so much for watching the video, and if you wanna see more content like this, please go ahead and subscribe. I will still be putting out more stuff. I'll probably make a 2-year update video, and maybe someday I'll make like a speaking video, but I'm definitely gonna be making more videos about like my studying journey and the tools that I use, basically keeping in, line with what I've been doing so far. And then once I actually get to Japan, maybe I'll do some cool videos about Japan while I'm there, if that'd be something that you guys would be interested in. Other than that, speaking as to where I'm at, do I feel like I'm fluent? This came up before. I mean, no, I don't think I'm fluent yet. I think I've made a lot of progress, and I think I've definitely reached like more than a survivable level of Japanese. I'm definitely at like a functional level of Japanese. If I stopped studying now and just immersed, I think my abilities would keep on growing. I think I'm at a point where just immersion would get me where I wanted to go at this point. But I really enjoy the structure of using Anki, and I really enjoy working within the MIA Let's Learn Japanese community. And yeah, I'm really having fun with the progress, and I've put so much time to it that I might as well just keep going. I should be moving to Japan with my job maybe next winter, if not sooner, depending on how my orders go to my next duty station. So definitely by next winter, if not sooner. I'll be living there, and that's really, really exciting to me because I'll be able to jump into the culture and use everything that I've learned, now that I'm not using it on a daily basis now. But yeah, so am I fluent? No, but I'm getting there. Maybe once I hit the golden 10,000 known morphs or 10,000 words, right? Maybe I'll get there then. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep on going the way I've been going, and hopefully one day I will be, and if I don't, that's cool too. I'm really enjoying the journey at this point. I think that's the biggest thing that most people who get to the level that I'm at, they kind of reach, is they either decide whether or not they do or don't enjoy it. And I'm definitely at a point where I'm still enjoying this. I'm definitely still having fun, and it's great to be able to just enjoy the things that I'm immersing with now. So I guess that's gonna be it, guys. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I will catch you next time.